There are 6 ways of factoring polynomials, and I'm hoping to go through all 6 of them, but hopefully in separate videos. So let's begin with the first one, which is the factoring out the GCF. All right, here's the first example. Now, when you factor out the GCF, you have to think about the fact that what divides both of these numbers? We have 12 and 15. Well, you could divide both of them by obviously 1, but 1 doesn't matter because 1 divides everything pretty much. So the next number that divides both of them is 3. Okay, so 3 is definitely part of your GCF, but 3 is not the only number that divides it. They both happen to have x next to it. One has x cubed and the other one has x squared. So which one do we factor out? Well, we got to factor out the lowest exponent. So between the 3 and the 2, the lowest exponent is obviously a 2. So then GCF is 3x squared. So you're going to remove the GCF from both of these terms by this. You can divide both of them by 3x squared. Now when you divide out the GCF, it doesn't disappear. It still stays in the front of your answer. So 3x squared will still be there. And then when you divide out the 3x squared from both of the terms, you're going to divide it individually. So take 12 divided by 3, that will give you a 4. X cubed divided by x squared, as long as the bases are same. In this case, both bases, as you can see, are x's. So they're same bases, take the 3 and the 2, the exponents, and simply subtract them. So 3 minus 1 will simply give you a 1. Now, we don't have to put the 1 there if you don't need to, and I will simply erase it. The 1 is understood. And then the most common mistake people make is that they transfer this plus automatically here. You should never do that. It works as long as the GCF is positive. As soon as the GCF becomes negative, we have a problem. So you should never take that plus sign and transfer it automatically here. Instead, take the plus and the 15 and think of it as a positive 15 divided by positive 3. And if you do that, that'll give you positive 5. And then the x squared and the x squared, since they both match up perfectly, they simply cancel out. Or think of it in this sense. Since the bases are both x's, the 2 minus 2 will give you a 0, which you don't need to put down. So then this becomes your factored form. Let's try this one. The GCF, you have 20, 24, and 8. What divides all 3 of them? Well, 2 divides it, 4 divides it. Take the highest number, so 2 is not the highest, so we'll just take the 4 instead. So 4 is part of your GCF. Unfortunately, you have letters A, B, and C, 3 variables, and they're all different. And because they're all different, they cannot be part of the GCF. So all you really have is your 4 as your only GCF. So we're going to divide everything, each term, by 4. And then when you divide by 4, 4 doesn't really go away. It just stays in the front. And then you could divide everything individually by 4. So you have 20 divided by 4, that will give you 5. And because A is not part of your GCF, the A squared will just be A squared at the end of it. Negative 24 divided by 4. Please do not put that minus sign automatically here. It doesn't work that way. That minus really goes with that 24 as a negative 24, and then divide that by positive 4. That'll give you negative 6b. Okay, and then positive 8 divided by 4, that'll give you positive 2. And the c will just bring it along for the ride. So then that's all you really have as your factored form. All right, in this case, we have a 12 negative, 18 positive, and 30 is negative. So let's figure out what is the greatest common factor in this case. So because we have 12, 18, and 30, you could divide all of them by obviously a 2, but is that the highest number? Probably not. There is another higher number than that you could divide both of them by. So let's see if you could divide by 3. You could divide all of them by 3. And then you could also divide all of them by, I believe, 6, right? So which one do we take? Well, 2 is not the highest number. 3 is not the highest number. It has to be a 6. So 6 is definitely part of your GCF. You also have a couple of variables. You have a and the c. If you look at the variables, the a has a 9 as an exponent, 7, and the 4. Which one do we take? In this case, we take the lowest. The lowest exponent happens to be a to the 4th power. So a to the 4th is part of your GCF. And then same thing with the letter C, the variable C. You have a 1 right here, a 5, and a 6. The lowest exponent is c to the 1st. So then this becomes your GCF right there. Okay. So then you're going to divide everything by the GCF. So GCF is 6a to the 4th, c to the 1st. And if you divide the whole thing by the GCF, you're basically going to put the GCF right here, 6a to the 4th, c, 6a to the 4th, c, and 6a to the 4th, c. So let's divide them out. However, we have an issue in this case. Because there's a negative in the front of the leading term, I need to make that 6 a negative. Now, do I have to? Not really, but we prefer the first number to be a positive. So I need to make that 6 to be a negative. So I'm going to take all of those 6's. And again, do you have to do this? Not really, but I personally prefer the first number to be a negative, and I think many other people as well. So we're going to choose that 6 to be a negative. So then you take that negative 12 divided by negative 6 will give you a positive number. Okay, and then the a to the 9th, a to the 4th, subtract the exponents. That'll give you a to the 5th power. Then, as I said last time, you cannot put this plus automatically here because in this case, it'll be wrong. You're going to take that 18 as a positive, 6 as a negative, and if you divide them out, you will get a negative 3, because positive divided by a negative is a negative. So 3 is a minus. 7 minus 4 will give you a to the 3rd power. And then 5 minus 1 will give you c to the 4th power. Same thing in this case. If you put that minus automatically here, it will be wrong because 30 is a negative, 6 is a negative. If you divide them out, they'll give you a positive. Since a negative divided by a negative is a positive, 30 divided by 6 will give you a positive 5. And the 4 will give you a 0 if you subtract them. In that case, the a to the 4th will simply cancel out. The c, so there's a 6 here, there's a 1 there, so 6 minus 1 gives you c to the 5th power. You close it up, and that is your factored form right here.